What's up, family? How y'all doing today, man? I hope y'all doing good. I am, as of right now. Who knows if I will be later? Who cares? Today I wanted to talk about my opinion on, is God real? You know, throughout my life, I've gone through many phases. At the beginning, I grew up Christian in a Baptist church, and I was kind of half in on believing. And then as I grew up slowly, I got out of Christianity. I started realizing that I was never really, believing in it. I just followed whatever my mom told me. And I started to become an atheist. As I became an atheist, I realized that my life began to lose meaning. And I'm not saying all atheists have no meaning, but I'm saying that my entire mind was based on logic, science, mathematics, literature. And I noticed that I never really had a true purpose. And once I started getting into weed and psychedelics, that part of my life meant nothing. And as I grew up, as I got through junior year of high school, I started feeling so fucked up. I started feeling depressed, anxious, all this stuff. And the worst part was that my belief system at the time in religion and science told me that we were just a fucking floating rock in space and that we had no meaning. We were bacteria pretty much to the world. And all we did was create negative energy and destroy, should have disregard. So at that point, I believed my life was meaningless, and I started to get very suicidal. Now, in a way, I felt like this could have been the death of me, because many times I thought about suicide, and honestly, the only thing that did pull me out of it was weed. If I didn't have my weed, I would most likely feel a lot more suicidal. But because I was smoking weed every single day, I really didn't have a reason to kill myself because every day was amazing. But then I got off weed for a little bit. I got off weed and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna start working out. I got inspiration from some YouTube channels and I started working out and I started feeling very good. So when that happened, I told myself, that's just life, science, the human body, dopamine, serotonin, all just running its course. I still had no meaning, but I mean, at least I was happy. I was feeling joy, I was feeling pleasure without any purpose or meaning. So I was like, whatever. So I stayed off weed for a little bit. And as most stoners, eventually I came back to it. And then I discovered that when I mix weed and lifting, I would feel very good. And I would actually get a better workout. I would just feel extremely motivated, right? So eventually, I started to plateau in my working out. I wasn't getting any stronger. The dopamine bursts, the serotonin bursts weren't as strong when I left the gym. And slowly over time, I fell out of it. I got very unmotivated and I started smoking weed again. And it got to a point where one time I was given psychedelics. I bought some for my friend and I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. I mean, this life has no meaning anyway, so I might as well. Took the psychedelic. First time was good. So obviously I did it again. Took the psychedelic again, LSD. And this time it fucked me up majorly. It made it to where not only did I realize that there was no purpose, but my mind was broken and I was going crazy as well. So when you add on those two things, and when I believe that mental disorders were the thing that was gonna fuck me up forever, I was gonna lose my mind, go crazy, I started to feel desperate. And when I started to feel desperate, I started smoking weed again every day to try to hide from the pain the psychedelics brought me. And what the psychedelics really did, it took out the pain I was hiding, the pain I was repressing, and made me face it. But I was unwilling to do this, so I felt like I was going crazy, because my mind was going in circles all the time. And slowly I noticed that as I smoked weed, every time I smoked, it was like a flashback to the trip. It was a flashback to the LSD experience when I feel like I was going crazy. And over time, I kept trying. I'm like, please, just let it be a good experience this time. Weed was always good to me, and now it's not. Now it hurts me. So slowly and slowly and slowly, I had to drift away from weed because it was hurting me too much. Took a break from that, took a break from psychedelics, and when I was at that point and I believed in nothing, I would sit alone in my room and fucking just be 100% miserable. I would lock myself in there for days, just fucking jerking off, and fucking eating processed food and shit. And I felt horrible, extremely horrible. So what happened next, I went to a friend's house and I got drunk as hell. And then I decided, fuck it, I'm gonna smoke weed. And then when I decided to do that, I had the worst fucking panic attack of my entire life. And I was sitting there thinking I was going to die and that I was having a heart attack. So I looked at my mind and said, please God, please help me. I feel like this is it. I feel like I'm gonna die. And then suddenly I felt this clearing. It was like my pain went away instantly, my fear, my panic, and then I started just to understand everything. I started to understand that the pain I was feeling, it wasn't just a feeling. It was the things that I put there. It was the demons that I held back from coming to the surface. And when I realized that, that's all it took. I started believing in the Holy Bible because at that point I saw God as Christianity. And I would continuously try. I had 100% belief because I was sure that this positive feeling was there. And whenever I closed my eyes and think of God, I would feel protected. So instantly, I became a Christian and I started feeling very, very motivated and very, very strong. And I started meeting people who telling me they were Christians. And as that happened, I started to feed into them. I started to make my belief stronger and stronger in Christianity. And then the person that I looked at the most as my Christian friend, the one that gave me inspiration, he cut me off like that. He gave me no regard. He didn't give a shit about me, even though he pretended like he did. So, because of my Virgo mind, I overanalyzed that. And then slowly I realized that I didn't actually believe in God. I just put it in my mind because I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't understand what it was that made me happy in that moment. It wasn't God. That feeling was a spiritual awakening. I was at the very, very bottom of my, I guess, roller coaster. I was at the very bottom. I was at the point where, let's say you're at the top of the Ferris wheel and it gets stuck. I felt like I was there. I felt like I was dangling. I felt like I could fall off and die at any moment. And I honestly wouldn't care. So that much despair opened my third eye. That much despair made me wake up. And after that, I continued to do drugs. I continued to smoke weed. And it didn't affect me anymore. Once I understood this feeling that I, as a person, have all the power I need. And everything that was an obstacle for me was one that I put there. So if I make the solution and make the problem, that makes me God. Doesn't it? That makes it where I have control over my reality. You can do anything you want. When you think, it happens instantly. You can create anything. When you dream, it happens instantly. You can create anything. This is what my belief in God is. We as conscious beings, have a stake in God. And as humans, we have a higher level of consciousness than all other beings on this planet. Other beings cannot communicate with us, such as animals, dogs, cats, but they can live and be happy, do whatever they want. See, they have a high consciousness level. They live on the love frequency, but they don't have egos building. They don't have an ego. Us as humans, we are advanced, so we have built-in egos. And when we buy into that ego, we can create many, many things. The ego is not a bad thing, but if you allow your ego to control you, you become lesser. Those dogs and cats suddenly become a higher level of consciousness than you because they're happy and you're not. So once you break away from your ego, you delve back into the God frequency. When I was on that weed, alcohol, I felt like a trip at the time. It was a high, but it felt like a trip. When I was on that, I felt like that was it. I felt like my mind was crumbling. And it was. My ego was dying. And when my ego starts to die, I begin to wake up. And ever since that moment, I have felt much more alive than I ever have. And it didn't come from Jesus or God. It came from myself. I realized that to gain control, I had to give up, ironically. I had to give in my egoic control and allow my higher self to take control. And once I did that, I noticed what it was I love. I noticed what it was that makes me happy. I knew my purpose. God didn't have to teach me anything, because I am God. I am everything. I am you. We all have consciousness, meaning we are the same. Everything in this world has consciousness. Every tree has consciousness. Every tree is a fraction of God. You see, God is all. And because we are part of God, we can manipulate it in any way. See, this is the essence of being a human. 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 Light. Light body. That is what we are. We are a light body with an astral body and a human body. Fifth, fourth, third dimension. As people, as humans in this matrix, we are not meant to understand all this stuff just yet. It takes strong experiences for you to be able to understand the truth that you will receive. You have to be ready for that truth. You have to experience pure pain, pure terror, pure fear. Whatever it is, you have those demons. Those demons are scary, but once you confront them and once you feel them, you'll realize that they are your best friends because they're the only things that can spur growth. The only way you can grow is if you kill what you already are. That's why people say, I'm a new man, because you are. You killed your old self and your new self is here. You have the ability to change, but it takes pain, effort, and work. And it doesn't just happen all at once. That's what I believe God is. God is intention. Consciousness, for example, this tree behind me is conscious, or these bushes, vines, whatever you call them. They're conscious. They're conscious. But they don't have free will or intention. That's what God is. God is the ability to decide. Animals and dogs and cats can decide. If they want to drink water, eat food, you can decide that. But they don't decide whether they believe in God or spirituality. We have a higher level of consciousness, and therefore we have more demons to confront. But once we confront those demons, we will be stronger than you could ever believe. So that's all I got to say about God, man. Tell me what you believe in the comments, all right? I appreciate you. Get out in nature. Third eye. Goodbye, family.